Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. So today we are going to be doing my 2021 journal flip through. So this is the journal I used for 2021 and let's get into it. So if you open, I have my title page. It just has my name and then a reading journal on the page, and I just ripped out some black paper and I stamped using silver ink and then just drew some stars. Then we have my bookshelf, which has my books read. So last year I read 63 books in total, I believe, and I have them colored according to the format in which I read them, whether it was audio, ebook, or physical. And as you noticed, I read mostly physical and ebook, but occasionally I will do a combination of physical and audio, or ebook and audio. So I've set up my bookshelf differently in this year's journal. Then we have an extra page. I didn't read as much as I thought I would this year. I was in kind of a slump towards the beginning and then middle of the year, so that affected the number of books I read. So here we have my books read in 2021. This just has the book covers for the books and then the star rating I gave each book I read. So this format, I got the idea from Books with Chloe. I think I also did the same with the bookshelf, but I'll have her channel linked down below. She has another channel called Journal with Chloe that I also like, and that's where she posts her journal pages. So these are just the books I read. And then I have my two favorite books from this year, which were From Blood and Ash by Jennifer L. Armentrout and A Kingdom of Flesh and Fire, also by Jennifer L. Armentrout. I talked about these books a lot on my channel, so if you've watched my videos, you've heard of it. And then we have Feed by Aveda Weiss, which was my least favorite book this year. This was a really short novella, and I read it for Smutathon. It was a smutty read, adult romance. I did not like it. I did not like it. I was a short, I don't think it was 80 pages, but I just did not enjoy this book. Next, we have my 2021 reading goals. Now, my first reading goal was to read 100 books. I read over 100 books last year, but I got to 63. I also wanted to read more manga, nonfiction, and graphic novels, and I did pretty good with the graphic novels, but I only read 2 nonfiction, and I really think they were poetry, and 1 manga in February. Here we have my 2021 review. I'm not crazy about this format. I changed it up for next year. As you can see, I didn't love it. I didn't love how this looked. So we have the amount of physical, ebooks, manga, and graphic novels I read during each month. And as you can see, I really didn't read a lot of manga or graphic novels throughout the month. I kind of got tired of just writing 0. As you can tell, I just left them blank. But I tend to read more physical because I prefer having the book in my hand. But I recently got a Kindle, so I've been reading more ebooks towards the end of the year. Here we have my top 21 books to read in 2022. I am going to do a video about the books I completed and the books I didn't complete, so I'm not really going to go into too much detail on this page. And here are my most anticipated. I have the most anticipated releases of 2021. I printed out the book covers and then I put little hearts on top. And for the ones that I believe it's the ones that I bought, I colored in, but I did not buy a physical copy of The Fate of Crowns or Tales from the Hinterland, so I should not have colored those 2 in. But I have physical copies of You Have a Match, I have Wench, I have Cast in Firelight, Wings of Ebony, Unchosen. I don't have a physical copy of Killjoy. I read Prepped and I loved it. It was great. I loved this cover because it looks like a prepper manual, so I gave this one 4 stars. I also read Namesake by Adrienne Young, which I gave 5 stars. This was the second book in the Fable duology, and I love this duology. It's amazing. Now we have my reading stats page. I also don't love the way this page turned out because, as you can see, I didn't fill out everything, so a lot of this is just not useful. So you have the months of the year, and then you have how many books I read in total each month, and then we have the total down at the bottom, and then we have how many books, physical, ebook, graphic novel, and then the pages I read each month. Then you have the average star rating, and I noticed that I don't really care about the average star rating I gave during the month, so I didn't even fill that out. And then we have the number of books hauled each month. This is a good way for me to track how many books I buy during the year, because I tend to buy more books than I read. So this year I bought 213 books and I only read 63. So this tells me I have to start reading more of the books that I own as opposed to just buying new books. And then we can tell by my TBR column that I don't really read off of the TBR that I pick at the beginning of the month. Here we have my DNF. I don't often DNF books because I pretty much stick to what I know I'm gonna like, and I don't unhaul, so I don't often unhaul, so this is a pointless. Here we have my series overview. This is where I wrote down the titles of the series that I wanted to read, and then I put little stamps of hearts for the books that I've read from these series. So for Truly Devious, I actually read the 4 books that are out in this universe. So I read Truly Devious, The Vanishing Stair, Hand on the Wall, and I read Box in the Woods. So I finished that one, so I colored in the circle. Then I started Stalking Jack the Ripper, but I only read the first book, so there's a star for that. And then Blood and Ash, I read from Blood and Ash, I read A Kingdom of Flesh and Fire. I have not completed A Crown of Gilded Bones, but there's a star there for a reason, for whatever reason. Serpent and Dove, I read Serpent and Dove. I have not completed that. Folk of the Air is A Cruel Prince, so I have that because I read A Cruel Prince. Shadow and Bone trilogy, I read Shadow and Bone, but I have not finished. All Souls is A Discovery of Witches. So I read A Discovery of Witches, and I am in the middle of Shadow of Night, which is the second book in that series. This is Pages & Co., which is a middle grade. And I've read the first 3 books in that series, and the 4th one came out towards the end of last year. So I have a physical copy of it, I just have not picked it up yet. Then we have A Court of Thorns and Roses. I read the first book in that series. The Red Queen, I read the first book in that series. I don't know if I'm gonna finish it, but there's that. Ash Princess, first book in the series. And then we get into my monthly spreads. So this is January. I did a book map theme. So I have the quote, "A bookshop is like a map of the world." This is actually a quote from a Pages & Co. book. It was on one of the covers. So I liked this one. I put this in here. Then we have my TBR. I read 2 books from my TBR. And here we have my days read and my books read. I read 3 books this year, 2 of which were 5 stars and 1 was a 4-star. Here we have my favorite quotes page, and then my favorite book of the month, which turned out to be 2 of the 3 books that I read. So From Blood and Ash and A Kingdom of Flesh and Fire by Jennifer L. Armentrout. Then we have my monthly stats, which says books read 3, pages read 1,625. Then we have February, and I did To All the Boys I Loved Before spread from the movies. So you have these little cute envelopes, and then you have little pictures of the scenes from the movies. So my TBR, I didn't read any of the books off this TBR. I had a really bad reading month this month. I was in such a slump after finishing A Kingdom of Flesh and Fire that I didn't want to pick anything else up. So this month was mostly consisting of graphic novels, and I read, and a manga. So I read 5 books this month, 4 of which were graphic novels or comics, and 1 was a manga. So the favorite month quotes of the month page mostly consist of little graphic novel pictures from the graphic novels I read. And then we have my favorite book, which was Herding Cats by Sarah Anderson. I love Sarah Anderson. I have all of her collections. So I have Adulthood is a Myth, Big Happy Mushy Lump, Herding Cats, and then she had a new one come out later this year that I also read. And then we come to my first dedicated book spread. So this is dedicated to From Blood and Ash and A Kingdom of Flesh and Fire. As you can see, I was in such a slump that I actually wanted to put a page to it. So this has a couple of fan art pictures. So this one is by Luina.art and at Dominique Wesson. And then we have at The Clever Crow. And then in this little pocket, I have my thoughts on the book. And then this one is at BX Romance. So this is one of my favorite spreads in this book. I love this. Next we have March, which is this floral geometric spread. I read one book off of my TBR, which is A Deal with the Elf King, but I read 6 books in total. So I have my days read spread. I end up phasing this out towards the end of the end of the year because I don't really pay attention to it. But here's my book spread. I have The Map of Stories by Anna James, Teen Titans Raven by Cami Garcia, Namesake by Adrienne Young, I Am the Rage by Martina McGowan, which is a book of poetry that I loved. A Deal with the Elf King by Elise Kova, which is the only book I read from my TBR. And then Magic in the Wind by Christina Fian, which was a reread. So here's my quotes page. Most of these are from The Map of Stories, which is the final book, which was the 3rd book in the Pages & Co. series. And then Namesake, which is the 2nd book in the Fable duology, which is my favorite book, was my favorite book of the month. And then we have my Fable and Namesake spread. I love this spread. These pictures I got off of her Pinterest board for Fable and Namesake. So Adrienne Young has a Pinterest board that had these pictures on them, so that's where I got them from. And then I printed out a couple of pictures of Jules because Fable is a gem mage, I think is what it's called. And then I have my thoughts on the book here with some washi tape. Here we have April, which I did a Little Prince theme. So I have the quote, "The most beautiful things in the world cannot be seen or touched. They're felt with the heart." And then I got these stickers off of Amazon. And my to be read, the only book I read was Prepped, but I read 6 books. So we have Prepped by Bethany Mangle, which I gave 4 stars. The Hill We Climb by Amanda Gorman, which is the bind up of the poems she read at the inauguration, and I gave that 5 stars. Swimming Lessons, poems by Lily Reinhart, I gave 3 stars. Stalking Jack the Ripper by Carrie Maniscalco, I gave 4 stars. The Seance Tea Party by Ramina Lee, I gave 3 stars. This was a really cute graphic novel. And then I have The Sad Ghost Club by Liz Meddings, which was also a cute graphic novel that I gave 3 stars. Then we have my quotes page. My favorite book was Prepped by Bethany Mangle. This was on my most anticipated releases for the year, and I loved it. So there's that. And then we move into May, which I believe is the beginning of my really bad slump towards the middle of the year. So this one was just a kind of purple watercolor theme. I was really feeling this watercolor purple mood, so this is what I did. I started a reread from Blood and Ash, so that's why it's on my TBR again. And then I also did a reread of Discovery of Witches, but didn't finish either of those this month. So I read a lot. I just didn't finish anything except Go the Distance by Jen Kalanita, which I gave 4 stars. And here's my quotes page, which I had another quote I wanted to add, so I made this little pocket at the bottom. Then we have my favorite book of the month, which was the only book I finished, and that was Go the Distance by Jen Kalanita. This is one of Disney's Twisted Tales and explores the question of what if Meg had to become a Greek god. So I loved this. I think Jen Kalanita did a really great job of exploring Meg as a character, and it was an amazing book. I loved it. Then we have June, which I did a Studio Ghibli theme, again with the pastel colors and watercolor. Off my TBR, I only finished A Discovery of Witches, but I also read The Nature of Witches by Rachel Griffin, and I gave that 5 stars. I loved it. I think she did an amazing job. So here we have a watercolor of Howl's Moving Castle. I Googled Studio Ghibli, and that's where I got it. This is a sticker that I got in a pack off of Amazon. Another sticker, sticker, sticker. And here is the cover. This month, I decided to put in my thoughts on the book, as opposed to just putting the title, genre, and the rating I have down here, and the author's name, because I feel like all of it's on the cover and I felt it was redundant, but I think this is the only month I did this. So here we have July. And July I did a kind of spooky, cute spooky theme because it's Summerween. It says so right here. Summerween was in July, so I decided to do kind of a spooky, cute moment. So here we have this cute little witch. I found this picture on Google. Cute little witch on a broom, and then we have this cute little cat wearing a hat, and this was by Little Spooky Studio, and I saw it on one of the hosts for Summerween. I saw it on her Instagram, so I cut that out and I put that up there. Then we have my days read and my books read. So I read No Exit by Taylor Adams, Night of the Living Dummy, Truly Devious by Maureen Johnson, The Vanishing Stair, and The Hand on the Wall, both by Maureen Johnson. This is another little printout of cute little witches, little cat, pumpkin, and a cute little cupcake with a little skull on it. Then we have my favorite quotes and my favorite book of the month, which was Truly Devious by Maureen Johnson. You can pause if you want to read the quotes, if you can read my handwriting. And then we have my Summerween spread. So the hosts were Olivia Reads a Latte and at Gabby Reads. And then we have the prompts, which was read in the dark, read a horror, read a paranormal, Halloween colors on the cover, and make a spooky treat. And I completed all of those, so I checked those off. This was meant to be my TBR for Summerween, but I ended up only reading No Exit by Taylor Adams. I added Night of the Living Dummy and Truly Devious. So this is my Nature of Witches spread. I got these cute little floral stickers off of Amazon, and then I printed out the cover and some more floral, and I just printed off these pages of like floral dictionary pages, and I ripped them up and I put them in and I glued them in. And then we have my thoughts here that I just put a sticker on to keep the thing closed. And we have another dedicated page for the Truly Devious series. So here is the Truly Devious letter and some characters that I just found this online and I thought it was cute, so I put it in there to cover the blank page. And then just some dark academia and my thoughts. Next we have August, which I did a graduation theme because this is the month I graduated. So little cap with graduate, class of 2021, and then my name, little graduate right there. And these little rose gold circles, I actually cut open a balloon that had the rose gold confetti in it and just glued them in. Again, I only read one book from my TBR, and I didn't read a lot. This month was kind of busy. So I read 13 Witches by Jodi Lynn Anderson. This is The Memory Thief. 13 Witches is the name of the series. But the first book is called The Memory Thief by Jodi Lynn Anderson, and this is just a cute middle grade. I finished my reread from Blood and Ash, so I put that in, and it was again 5 stars. I read Truly Madly Deadly by Hannah Jane. This was the first book I read by Hannah Jane. I read it in one night. It went that fast, so it was a fast, easy read, and I gave that 4 stars. And then I read One Dark Night by Jade Black and gave that 4 stars. That was a reread. I've read that book a million times. And we have my quotes page. I only really have one quote, And my favorite book was Truly Madly Deadly. Then we have September, and I decided September was gonna be like a dark academia themed month. I read 2 books off my TBR. These are my books read. I read The Box in the Woods by Maureen Johnson. I gave that 4 stars. The Ghost of Fossil Glen by Cynthia DeLeese. I gave this 4 stars. This was, I want to say it was one of the first books I read as a child that kind of like stuck in my head because I can remember this book so well. So I decided to get another copy because I have no clue what happened to mine. And I reread it and I loved it just as much as I did when I was a kid. It had a lot of great memories and I still think it's a good book. And then we have my reread of City of Ghosts by Victoria Schwab. I gave that 4 stars. And then I read The Tea Dragon's Tapestry by Katie O'Neill, and I gave that 4 stars. This was the most recent release in the Tea Dragon series, so I read this one. I read it as an ebook. I want to get it in physical because I have all the other books in physical, but that one I read as an ebook. Then we have my favorite quotes page. Again, I just printed out some like dictionary pages that I found online and I ripped it and put it in. Then we have my favorite book of the month, which was The Box in the Woods by Maureen Johnson. And as you can see, I stopped doing a monthly stats, because I don't really pay attention to it. And I have my spread for September 11th. I just put my thoughts in here and put some pictures. Then we have October. This is a I Know What You Did Last Summer theme. I love I Know What You Did Last Summer. So I decided to base my October theme on that. So we have a couple scenes from the book, and then we have the iconic letter that is sent out. I did not read a single book off my TBR this month, but I read a lot. So here are my books read. I actually had to do a little, I don't know if you can see that, a little extra piece. So we have The Inheritance Game and The Hawthorne Legacy. I read these 2 books back to back. These were written by Jennifer Lynn Barnes. I read these back to back this month. So, and I believe I read Hawthorne Legacy in 1 day. I think I started it when I got home from work and I finished it before I went to bed that night. I finished my reread of A Kingdom of Flesh and Fire, gave it 5 stars. I read The X-Hex by Erin Sterling, gave that 5 stars. Diver's Heart by K.A. Knight. I read this for, I believe it was Smudathon, which was hosted by Riley Marie on YouTube, and I loved it. I loved it so much that I bought a physical copy of it. And I don't normally do that for these types of books. Once I read them, I'm pretty okay with just keeping the ebook on my Kindle, but I loved it so much I bought a physical copy. So this one I gave 5 stars. I read Everyone's an Alien When You're an Alien 2 by Jomny Sun, and I gave that 5 stars. Here's Feed by Abeta Weiss. Did not love this book. I have 2 stars here, but I bumped it down to 1 because I really didn't like it. I skimmed most of it, didn't finish it. Then we have Lessons in Corruption by Gianna Darling, another book I read for, Feed I read for Smudathon too. But Lessons in Corruption I read for Smudathon. I gave it 4 stars. This was pretty good. It put me really in the mood for motorcycle club romances. So this was the start of a downward spiral into that. But that I also read for Smudathon. Then we have I Love Halloween, which is a comic, a really, really graphic one. It's not for kids. Definitely an adult comic. I gave that 2 stars. It was okay. Didn't love it, didn't hate it. Then we have Scream for Us by Molly Doyle. I love this. It was a really small novella, but it was so good. This one follows like these guys who were they were dressed up for Halloween, obviously, and wearing masks for, I believe it was Ghostface, and 2 other ones I can't remember off the top of my head, but this was so good. And then we have Lady of Rook's Grave Manor, which I loved. This is by Catherine Moon. I gave this 4.5, but I think I bumped it up to 5 when I put it in my books read in 2021. But I love this. This was so good. Then we have my quotes page and my favorite book of the month, which was You're an Alien 2. Everyone's an Alien When You're an Alien 2. I don't have the information here. I missed that. Then we have my Vampathon spread, which I also participated in. I put little check marks next to the spots I completed. And then there's little book covers for some of the books I read to complete these. And here's the little Vampathon photo challenge, which I think I only did the first day. Then we have my Camp Weekend Wean spread. So this has the Instagram prompts and then the reading prompts for this week. I didn't do so great with this readathon. I did much better for Winter Wean, but this was still a good reading month. Then we come to November, and I did a Sailor Moon theme because I love Sailor Moon. These are all stickers I got from a sticker pack off Amazon. So here's my TBR. Didn't finish any of these books, but I started The Royals Next Door and I started The Wisteria Society of Lady Scoundrels. I just didn't finish either one of them, but I read a lot of books. I read Circumstantial Memories by Carol Erickson, gave it 3 stars. Rita Herron, The Missing Twin, 3 stars. These were just some Harlequin intrigue books that I had gotten off eBay, so I read those. Then we have Storm by Aria Ray and Breaker, also by Aria Ray. I gave each of these 3 stars. This is where my downward spiral into motorcycle romances goes. And then we have a couple more Harlequin intrigue. We have What She Did by Barbara Hahn and Chain of Custody by Carol Erickson, both 3 stars. There were a lot of 3-star reads this month. Then we have Riggs Ruin by Nicola Jane. This was 4 stars, another pretty good motorcycle romance. I liked this one. Well, I liked all of them, but this one kind of stood out more. Then I finally read Heartstopper by Alice Oseman. I gave that 5 stars. I had gotten a really pretty Fairy Loot edition, so I read that one because I wanted to read it physical. Then we have a reread. This was Blue Smoke by Nora Roberts. I read this book a bunch of times, so I decided a reread was in order, and I gave that 4 stars. And then we have Batman, the Story of the Dark Knight. This is a kid's book. I read it one day while I was waiting for my class in library, and I gave it 3 stars. I did not have any favorite quotes from the books I read this month, so this page is empty, but I have this really cute sticker in the corner. And then we have my favorite book of the month, which was Heartstopper. And then we have December. But I had a lot of books on my TBR this month. I had a lot of plans, and I did not read any of them. I had a very bad reading month in December. I would read, I believe, every day, and I never finished a thing. But I read Window Shopping by Tessa Bailey. This was my first Tessa Bailey book, and I gave it 3 stars. It was okay. I had no interest in the smutty scenes whatsoever, but I love the characters, so that's why it's got a 3. And then I did a reread of all of my Sarah Anderson comic collections because her new one came out this month, and I read all the other ones because I wanted to read this one. So I read Adulthood is a Myth again, Big Mushy Happy Lump, Herding Cats, which is my favorite because she has this cute little black cat, and if you've seen my videos, I have a black cat. She's usually wandering around in the background. And then I read Oddball, which is her newest one, and I gave all of those 5 stars. Then, since I only read like 5 books this month, I did my books hauled page because I had an extra page since I didn't read that many books this month. And so I put all the books I bought in December. I read Window Shopping and Audible, and that was it. But Grim Rose Girls is on my TBR for this month. But I had plans to read all these Christmassy romance books, and I didn't get to any of them except for Window Shopping. Then we have my book stats for 2021. I like how the stats are all in one place at the end of the year. So I might continue to do a page like this as opposed to the huge chart I had in the front. So this has my book count, which was 64, then it has my page count, which was 16,849 pages. And then my average star rating was a 4. Then we have the shortest book I read, which was The Hill We Climb, which was 32 pages. The longest book I read was A Discovery of Witches by Deborah Harkness, and that was 690 pages. The most popular book I read based on Goodreads, so I went and I checked the ratings for the books I read, and the most popular was A Discovery of Witches, which had 433,330 ratings. And then the least popular was Circumstantial Memories, which had 70 ratings. Then we have my highest rated, which was, I based off star count on Goodreads, so The Hill We Climb had 4.57 stars. Then we have the number of 5-star reads. I read 15 books that I rated 5 stars, so I think that's a pretty good amount. And then I participated in 4 readathons. My best reading month was October with 11 books. Then the longest book I read was 690 pages, and that was A Discovery of Witches. Then I have my top 10 books of 2021. So this includes Truly Devious by Maureen Johnson, Stalking Jack the Ripper by Carrie Maniscalco, Everyone's an Alien When You're an Alien Too by Jomny Sun, A Nordic King by Karina Halley, The Inheritance Games by Jennifer Lynn Barnes. This is a special dust jacket that I got from Juniper Books, but this is A Discovery of Witches by Deborah Harkness. Then you have Herding Cats by Sarah Anderson, The Nature of Witches by Rachel Griffin, Namesake by Adrienne Young, and then I believe this is my Illumicrate edition of From Blood and Ash by Jennifer L. Armentrout. And that is the end of my spreads for 2021. So I think I'd have to say my favorite pages are my dedicated pages to my favorite books of the year. So Truly Devious or A Nature of Witches. I love this spread. I also love the one I did for Fable and Namesake. And then From Blood and Ash is also a favorite. So those are my spreads for 2021. Again, I will list my supplies down below. I hope you guys enjoyed this flip through. I hope maybe you got some ideas that you'd like to recreate in your own journals. And I will see you guys in my next video. Bye.